Hello, fellow stay-at-homers. This is Ed Varnum, and this is the fourth in my series of a word and a song, and it is the Tuesday after Easter. I hope you had a blessed Easter. It was different, but the message is still the same. He is risen. Death has been swallowed up in victory. We have hope. Of course, you know that even when we have hope, we still grieve. We still can struggle. Paul said in his letter to 1 Thessalonians that I want to teach you something. I want to teach you so that you will not grieve as those who have no hope. We do grieve. That's what the Bible says. We grieve. We grieve because we love. And when we lose that which we love, when it is no longer here in the same way, we grieve. But we grieve with hope. We grieve with hope because death does not have the final word. I believe that. I'll go so far as to say I'm sure of it. And let me tell you why. In 1984, I was pastor of a church in Texas, and I got a call from my sister in Arizona saying, "You need to come home. Mom's in the hospital. It doesn't look good. She may not make it. You need to come home." And I took the next plane I could the next day, and I went to Phoenix to see her in the hospital. I stayed a week. And at the end of that week, she was rallying. And I needed to get back to Texas to my family and my work. And so I made arrangements to fly home. And then I went by the hospital to say goodbye. When I went in the hospital, I saw my mom without the oxygen mask covering her face. I saw her alert and aware. And the first words she said to me when I walked into the room was, "I had a visitor." Okay. And she went on, "It was last night. It was late. And he walked into the room and he walked over by my bed and he just stood there and he stayed with me. And then he went over after a while by the window over there. And then he walked out the door into the hall. And I called the nurse," she said, and the nurse came right away. And I said, "Who was that man in my room?" And the nurse said, "There was no man in your room, Mrs. Varnum." And she walked out and she walked around and then she came back in and she said, "No, there was no one in your room. There was no man in your room. You must have been dreaming." And she left. And Mom looked at me and smiled and she said, "There was a man in my room." Well, I stood there for a moment in silence and I finally got the courage to say what I thought was the obvious question. I said, "Mom, do you think he was getting you ready?" And she said, "Yes, I'm ready and I'm not afraid." I told my father and my sister that I was going to fly back to Texas, but I would be back and it would be soon. And it was. Shortly after I left, my mom again took a turn for the worse. And I got a call the next day and my sister said, "The doctor wants to know, do we want her to be put on a ventilator?" And I said immediately, without even thinking, no. No, because she's ready. She told me so. And she's been struggling for so long. It's time to set her free, to go home. I want you to know today, as you grieve, and you will grieve because you love, and you have grieved because you love, I want you to know that you can grieve with hope. Even if that loved one is far away, even if you're so concerned that you cannot be there with her, perhaps because of this situation we're in right now, she's not alone. She's not alone. He's not alone. Your loved one is not alone, will not be alone any more than my mother was alone on that dark night. I don't know if there was an angel, a vision of an angel with her, or Christ himself. I don't know. But I do know she was not alone. And she was taken gently by the hand when it was that time. And she was quietly led home into the radiance of God's presence. And so grieve, my friend, but grieve because you love, and grieve as those who have hope. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils and snares, I have already come. 'Twas grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we have no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. God bless you.